What's this in your back pocket? I just saw you walking it.
It's a navigational age. What's the problem? You a tyrant?
Yeah, I am actually. What's your name and date of birth?
I don't have to give that unless
Yes,
I'm
sir.
here.
I was investigating.
You have reasonable,
Do you want me to
articulated
put you in
suspicion.
handcuffs right now? Yes, sir, I do.
What is your suspicion?
It looks like you're carrying a gun in your back pocket. I'm stopping to make sure you're carrying it properly. You
Well,
don't
have you
to.
ensured that it's not a firearm?
No, you keep turning so I can't see it. You don't have to be a to me.
So you might be familiar with this story at this point. This is a legally blind man in Florida, James Hodges, being approached because of his cane. They think it's some sort of weapon, and so the cops decide to hassle him. We have some updates on this story, but just in case you're not familiar with the entire interaction, let's jump into a little bit more of the video.
What's she stop you for? For a walking stick. And it could look like a weapon. She asked you to
Really?
present it, okay?
Now she's asking me for ID.
Okay.
I don't need the ID unless there's reasonable, articulated suspicion that I have committed a crime, am committing a crime, or about to do a crime.
Sir, and her suspicion was that you were armed, okay? And she's asking you for your ID.
Well, now she has verified that I am not armed.
Okay.
So there is no
You have
problem.
your ID or not?
I do have my ID, but you don't need it.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Mr. Hodges. Was that hard?
It's gonna be. I want your name and your badge number.
I put him in jail for resisting.
Okay.
So is that so hard? And James Hodges says it's gonna be. Well, he knew what was going on. He knew the actual regulations, and he also knew how this is probably likely to go down. Those deputies are now facing suspension without pay. One of them, Harrison, was demoted after the investigation. So there have been some consequences, perhaps not as much as we would want. Of course, I personally think that those videos demonstrate everything that is wrong with the psychology of far too many cops. Whether you think that she was justified in stopping him in the first place, and I think most people probably would not. Once he demonstrated that he was just a legally blind man with a cane, that should be it. Or maybe not it. Maybe there should be an apology, and then that's it. You move on with your life. But unfortunately, these cops felt like he had been challenged them. So now, even though they've got nothing, they know that they've got nothing, they have to hassle this guy, joking about being tyrants, insisting that they see his ID. They don't need his ID for literally anything. He doesn't have a gun. They know that they're just hassling a guy because of his walking stick, Adrienne. And as a result of their need to prove that they're powerful and strong and alpha, how dare you question us? They're suffering the consequences now.
Yeah, and they should indeed suffer consequences. It's like these officers, oftentimes they think everything is a gun. Everything is a gun, but when there's an actual gun, oh no, it can't be found. It's so incredibly mesmerizing, this thought that this walking stick that this man has, he is legally blind, that the officer would use that as a pretext to hassle him. Because it does not make any logical or reasonable sense. But what it does communicate to me is that this is a power trip in action and an abuse of power. And the thing is that it's instances like this that deteriorate the relationship between the community and law enforcement. Because why wouldn't it? It's absolutely absurd.
100%. Cops are taking some responsibility. Antonio Plana said, as sheriff, I take full responsibility for this event and want to extend my sincere apologies to Mr. Hodges for the actions of my deputies. I do not feel these deputies' actions were guided by ill intent, but rather by frustration and failure to rely on their training. Nevertheless, this conduct is unacceptable. So you don't really take full responsibility. I mean, look, he's saying he takes responsibility. That's more than we usually get. But you don't think it was guided by ill intent? Okay, then that's Antonio Planas in that statement is not a human being actually saying what any real person would say. You're saying the thing that cops are supposed to say. They just got frustrated. No, but that's the issue. That's the ill intent, a predisposition to getting frustrated with anyone who even briefly questions your unstoppable authority. That's the issue. And that may not be formally a part of their training, but it is clearly a part of their training because we see it in cops throughout across the country. You question them for a second and they freak out. And so anyway, they've been suspended without pay, some other stuff happened, whatever. Hodges said as a result of this, makes my chest swell up, not in a proud way, but in a very appreciative way. And I love that statement. He didn't do anything wrong. He shouldn't have been hassled in this way.
No, and I hope that he still files some kind of lawsuit against this department, because this is absolutely and utterly, completely and totally unacceptable, this behavior. And the fact that the sheriff is now saying, oh, they didn't intend. Our society is so much focused on intent when the impact is the problem. Let's focus on the impact here. No matter what your intent is, you can have the best of intentions, but if you end up shooting up a bunch of people or creating utter chaos that tears down society, maybe you shouldn't be a police officer. So let's look at the impact here and screw the intent.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.